following is sponsored by
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Sedona International Film Festival. I'm Carol KAHN and we're coming to you live from the media room here at the Sedona Rouge Hotel, as well as throughout the film festival's other festivities. And joining me now, we're going to be talking with two filmmakers, Gregory and Shawn, about their film Saturn Returns. Interesting name for the film. Can you tell me a little bit about that, how this title of the film came about?
Sure, Shawn, you want to talk about the...
Sure, yes. Well, very quickly, the film is about 5 college friends who reunite for a wedding of 2 of their group in Mammoth Lakes, California, and they are all about to turn 30. And 36 hours before the wedding, the missing 6th friend of their group, who is also the former best friend of the groom and the ex-boyfriend of the bride, arrives unexpectedly. So it's a dramedy, and things do not quite go as planned. And the genesis of the film, and also to get to your question about the title, is after trying to put together a couple of feature films to direct and having them fall apart, Gregory suggested that I write something very intimate that I could make without a lot of money and really we could do on our own. And so I thought, at that point I was approaching my 40th birthday, and I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, that whole big birthday is really interesting, but I don't want to write or talk about the process I'm in right now. Let's roll it back and talk about a process I've already been through, because that's much easier to write about. And so I thought 30 was a big one. And I thought, it'd be really interesting to have characters about to turn 30 and wrestling with their 30th birthday, and that would be thematically really interesting. So I was talking to a friend of mine, just running the idea by her, seeing what she thought, and she loved it. She said, you should do this movie, you should write this movie, and you should call it Saturn Returns, because the planet Saturn is on a 29.5-year cycle, so we all have a Saturn return when we're turning 30, turning 60, turning 90. And I didn't know anything about that. And then in astrology, the planet Saturn represents heavy-duty life choices, life partner, career, things like that. So the idea is that we're wrestling with those big things when we're turning 30, 60, 90. And so that is was my introduction to the idea of the Saturn return and also to the title of the movie.
So which came first? Was it the idea for the movie or the title of the film?
The idea for an intimate story about characters turning 30 came first, and then pretty quickly, within a few weeks, I had the title of the movie and the thematic touch point of the Saturn return and the sort of astrology point of view, which as a filmmaker is also really interesting because the night sky is beautiful, and it's a beautiful night sky in Mammoth, not unlike Sedona's night sky. And so that's fun to be able to weave into the storytelling. So we have extraordinary time lapse of the night sky over Mammoth to show some transitions between night and day in our story, which we're very, very fortunate to have an amazing time lapse photographer do those for us.
And I think also, as filmmakers and writers, anytime you're always looking for kind of that thematic touch point, something that kind of unify it, thematically. And sometimes it's more quiet and kind of more in the background. And this one, as we started to develop it, we found this. We kept bumping into people saying, "Oh my gosh, they're in their Saturn Returns." We're like, "Yes," and a lot of people did know what it was. And so we found this was really resonating with people. So it actually was something we're able to put in the forefront of the film by actually titling the film Saturn Returns, but also it's not an astrology film. There's one character who's really into astrology, and the other people are laymen. There's some people are a little bit of doubters in it.
Yes.
So it brings that point of view into the film without actually preaching in any way or even being an astrology movie. It's certainly just something to look at thematically about where they are in their lives and the changes that they're going through, and wrestling with what we also consider like the true threshold into adulthood. It's like your roaring 20s are over. What are you really going to do with your life now? Who are you going to be with? Who are you going to be? What do you want to be?
What's your life purpose?
What's your life purpose?
Yes.
And I think that's a really interesting point because it's something, my daughter just turned 30. So, we've had that conversation as well. It's like, I know there's something that changes. I don't know what happens from, 29 to 30.
Right. Yes.
There's this huge transition and things that happen in your 20s you no longer need in your 30s. So what are some of the challenges that some of the characters actually have been going through in this particular film?
Do you want to go for that? Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things we felt really great about is really every character has their own arc in an ensemble film of 7 characters.
Which is challenging to
Which
do
is
as
challenging.
a writer.
Which is
yes.
challenging because you're trying to tell an intimate story with 7 characters is tricky because how much time do you have to spend with each character? But the core story is life partners. At the core is a love triangle of who do you want to spend your life with, who do you want to partner with, and why? And why are you marrying them, and why do you see them as? Are you marrying them for the person they are? Or you're marrying them because you think they're going to become something, or they fit into your life in a certain way, or you had a plan and this person works into your plan. So that's really the core story. But our characters are different places. One is a mom, and she's struggling with her husband and whether she stays in her relationship, which isn't working, and what she does for her daughter.
And she's the only one who's married. There's one
Yes.
who's married and she's not the one that anyone would have thought would have been married.
Right.
So that's kind of just turning some stereotypes on its ear.
Sure. And then we have another character who's been unlucky in love and is looking for love and doesn't know how to pursue it. We have another character who is a newly ordained priest. And to me, that was one of the more interesting characters. He's not sure if he made the right choice. I think we always look to clergy and go, oh, well, they just knew they had a calling. And so you have a character talking about the fact that I think this is my calling, but I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
So all of these, and then we have an ex-con who's kind of looking to where he is going in his life for the next phase. So I think we really tried to give each character a place in their life. Not that they were going to derail their life, but like, okay, I've come thus far. Is that what I should keep doing?
Right. Are the choices that I've made so far the choices that I want to continue making, or do I need to make new and different choices?
Right.
Now, this whole storyline is around a wedding.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the two of you are married.
That's right.
Yes.
So, was there any inspiration from the film through your own marriage and your own, things that you've had to work through?
Oh, I think there's quite a
Yes.
bit. And sometimes as I watch the film, I'm like, oh, right, I did that, didn't I? Oh, yeah.
So I met Gregory the week I turned 30, which was a momentous occurrence in my life, considering that now we've made a life together. We have 2 children together. This is our biggest project to date, but we've made several projects together. And so yes, our relationship certainly was a touchstone, and I'm the primary writer on the story, but Gregory and I share a story by credit, because we talked at many points along the way about the story and the relationships and the characters. So Gregory was very involved in the writing of the screenplay. So yes, definitely.
Well, I think what's interesting, too, is the storyline, and I didn't get to see the film yet, but I did see some of the trailers, and it looked really interesting. It looked fun. It looked like something that I would really be interested in watching. And also, just with your background in television, when I was looking at this particular trailer, I thought, oh, this would be like a really cute story for a TV show. So...
all right. Tell that to your friends in the broadcasting business, yes.
Yes, actually, one of the things we're hoping to accomplish is a TV sale for the movie. It really makes sense in this current climate, because theatrical is so challenging for small movies without stars, that TV might be the right place for it to have its broadcast premiere, if you will. So yes.
I think it's interesting, in talking with filmmakers, one of the things that seem to be coming up is raising funds for movies, that it seems to be so challenging, and then actually stepping into it and completing a movie, and maybe looking for a different entree into whether it's TV or even a longer version of the film itself. How difficult is that road in transition for you?
Well, I think there's more than one answer to that question, because as a filmmaking team, our goal is to now be able to make more films. So we look at this as the first in a series of projects. We did have a certain amount of equity participation in terms of outside investors. So you hope to be able to recoup some, if not all, of your investments. So you have people who've invested in your films, and you can say, we have a track record of making a film that actually did some business, and
makes
we'd like
its money back.
And we're gonna do another one, and we'd like y'all to get involved.
Right.
And then there's the other aspects of using it either as a calling card towards getting hired. as a creative team, or Shawn has actually gotten hired out as a result of this film to direct a Lifetime movie. So there are those kinds of tangential, I wouldn't call them tangential, but those kind of benefits as well, that you start to develop your craft as a filmmaker, and then you actually can work as a journeyman filmmaker as well.
And is it hard to, transfer from TV to film? Because now we're starting to see more and more where even actors in film are transitioning into television, and also a lot of film type series is happening on different networks.
Sure.
So are you starting to see that more and more?
Well, I think it's different for people involved in different parts of the process. So, for example, if you're what's called below the line crew, and there's above the line crew and below the line crew, and below the line crew is like grips and gaffers and folks like that, and those folks can move very easily back and forth between the different mediums: film, commercials, television. Actors, certainly at a certain level, can move back and forth more easily because they're in demand. So for writers and directors, it's very challenging to break into episodic television. And it's challenging to break in. It's all hard. So let's just say that first. Like, it's all very challenging, making any kind of, it's like we were talking on the panel this morning, any film that gets made is some kind of miracle, because it's so incredibly challenging. But that said, it's very challenging to break into episodic television as a writer and a director, because, I looked at the statistics for primetime shows in America, and it's actually easier to go to the Olympics than it is to direct television. Episodic scripted television.
Right.
So just to give you a sense of how challenging it is, because there's fewer jobs than there are spots at the Olympics.
We're in a very exciting time in television.
Yeah.
We're in a new golden age of television. There's more scripted television right now than has been on in the history of television.
Yes.
And it's an exciting medium because people are really telling stories that are 10 hours long, 20 hours long, which in some ways, is very exciting towards a filmmaker, to writers, because they get to, it's like a novel.
The bigger canvas.
It's a much bigger canvas, where,
Yes.
a feature film is kind of like an extended short story. If you have
A novella.
a novella, if you have 20 hours, you can really take time. There has been a huge proliferation of television shows. There's also been a proliferation of talent all over the world that wants to direct
Getting
them.
into
And
that.
it's,
Yeah.
so making that break to go from directing an independent feature to having a showrunner or a network executives go, okay, you're going to take over this $4 million per episode television show, is a big jump. So, and those are the challenges of breaking in and moving laterally in show business.